Hey friend, welcome to my podcast, The Fit Soul. I'm your host, Amy Ramsey. In this podcast, we will be discussing soul-filled strategies to unleash your confidence, increase your energy, and all the things healthy lifestyle. If you're a Christian woman who is ready to reach your God-given potential, walk worthy of your calling with abundant joy and energy, girlfriend, you are in the right spot. I mean, you only have one life to live. You might as well maximize it. Buckle in, and thanks for listening. And welcome back to the Fit Soul podcast. This is a continuation, part 2 of how to elevate your energy, to stress less and live more. Live at a higher level of peace, a higher level of joy, a higher level of vibrancy, of thriving. And I am really passionate about this conversation because having energy is everything. And across the board, when I started to poll women on what are they looking for, one of the very first things that I hear in women over 40 is they want more energy. And if that's you, you're in the right spot for this podcast. So number one, welcome back. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is, like I said, a continuation. I started the podcast last week and there was just a lot of content to give you. And so I wanted to just do a part 2. I don't know about you. In fact, I would love to hear back from you. I can get lost and not ever listen to a really long podcast. Like if it's over a certain amount of time, I'm like, I don't have time for that. So I try to keep these bite-sized pieces short and sweet so you can take this information for inspo on the go. And therefore, I needed to break this one into 2 different podcasts. So the first one, and again, I'm taking this from a perspective of faith first because that's who you are. That's why you're here. You want that faith perspective in your life. It's everything to you. But also, as a Jesus girl and a certified high performance coach, using the science of what gets us into action to move that needle forward in our life, to get to the next level, the more thriving version of ourselves. So I take that mixed with, I've got a lot of experience here and expertise in certified high performance coaching, Christian life coaching, and then also fitness and nutrition. So this is all of my wheelhouse. We're going to take a very integrative approach to your health because what used to work for us ladies before we turned 40 or even 5 years ago doesn't work anymore oftentimes. And we can't just say, oh, well, you need to work out harder or change your diet. Yes and yes. But we're going to address this issue of energy from an integrative, holistic approach. So last week I opened up with the effects of stress on the body. And it not only affects your hormones, imbalances, it also can impact your relationships. It disrupts your sleep patterns. It's increased risk of cardiovascular issues and digestive disorders. It has an elevated risk of chronic health conditions, hypertension, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and more. So the need for us to get our stress under control is imperative. And so much of this is in our lifestyle choices, but also taking full responsibility for our lives, for where we are right now in our lives, and developing a strategy, having specific strategies around moving forward in a way that's more energizing than it is allowing the stress to continue to impact our health and our wellness and our level of joy and happiness, overall happiness, right? So just to recap real quick, I'm giving you my framework around this to transform your energy. Yes, last week we went over the foundations, get back to the basics, double down, do the things that you already know to do. Very quickly, I talked about gratitude, but genuine gratitude, really up-leveling your gratitude and your overall health practices for your nutrition. Prioritize protein, make sure you're getting proper hydration in, focus on those whole foods, focus on breath work, morning sunlight, daily intentions, morning routine. I talked about a couple of other things there. So get back to the basics. Those things, common knowledge is not common practice. Because you know something doesn't mean you're doing it. I coach a lot of women and they know this, and we need these reminders. This is why you're listening to a podcast. This is why I have a group coaching program called the Walkworthy Mentorship, is because not only do I remind them of this regularly, but guess what? I'm reminding myself. I created that mentorship to have a group of women, to have accountability but support, because it was what I needed. I couldn't find it anywhere in the marketplace. So it's like the Lord was saying, well, girl, go create it. And that is it's one of my favorite places to hang out. And I'm going to put the link below if you're looking for extra support, more than a podcast, that structure to help really get you moving along. That's what you get in my mentorship, okay? So I'm going to put that down here. But we need to be reminded of this because common knowledge is not common practice. You know these things, but are you doing them? That's the question. And where you've slacked off, let's elevate that. Let's pick that up. I also talked about fatigue. So we've got the foundations, and then we've got fatigue. Mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional. What are the things that boost your energy? What are the things that deplete your energy? We talked about attaching a level on your energy and your reactions to the uncontrollable things in your life. And most people operate at a level 10. They are unaware of their emotional output, and it's exhausting. It's draining. And the power of understanding that, wow, my emotions are my job. My emotions are my responsibility. I really like the way that Steve, I can never say his last name, Futrick, elevation guy. He just wrote a new book, and it's actually really good. It's called Do the New You, but he says, my joy is my job. It's that idea that happiness really is an inside work. And when we understand that we're the creator of our thoughts, but also our emotions. Feelings happen to us. They're fleeting. But once that feeling it doesn't take long for a feeling to pass, then it becomes an emotion. And so we actually get to create the emotions that we want. We get to choose the level of energy we give to any given situation. So knowing what are your controllables and what are your uncontrollables, and controlling your controllables as much as you can. And then on your uncontrollables, you get to decide what level of energy will you give something, and what will you continue to give that, and we get to decide to build faith. We don't have to assign those negative emotions. We can build faith and trust God. That's something that we should be doing always. And then also, it's an opportunity to develop emotional control. Okay, so we're going to pick up from there. So we've talked about foundations. We've talked about fatigue. Number 3, we are going to talk about focus. Okay, focus, getting recalibrated, getting excited, getting enthusiastic with our thoughts. And what I want to say to you here is that focus is something that is missing across the board. Social media has really taken our attention span down to like 3 seconds, 7 seconds. We don't have an attention span like we used to. And we can build that back. We are fighting against so many distractions that are, namely, in our hands most of the time, right? Our phones, dang it, are we're so easily distracted. And so for us to build back focus will help to replenish and elevate your energy. One of the things that I have my clients do, my Walkworthy mentorship do, and I'm going to have you do it right now, is for you to choose 3 focus words. Your brain operates better when it knows what to do, when it knows what you want. When your brain is clear around, hey, this is what we're doing, let me move forward in this direction. And so picking 3 focus aspirational words of the best of you, who you want to become. So that can be whatever it is for you. So for me, my first one is joy. And I actually have exuberant joy. I want that joy level in my life to be exuberant. I want it to be very contagious. Another focus word for me is focused. And let me tell you why. Because I'm so easily distracted that the clarity for my brain is to be focused. And then another word for me, I actually have several, but is disciplined. I want to be a disciplined person. So I would love for you to choose 3 focus words right now. And then put them in your phone under your alarms. You know how you set an alarm to wake up in the morning? The same thing. Take your 3 focus words and put them in your alarm and have your alarm go off several times a day. And then take a look at your focus words and recalibrate, reconnect with your goal. One of the reasons why you're not achieving the goals in your life and moving forward is you have great intentions, you really mean well, and you might set forth goals. If you're kind of the average American, you might kind of think about it a little bit on December 31st, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day, you've got these goals that you kind of half-hearted thought about. And then, of course, within a week, you've forgotten what they are. And absolutely, there's no way at the end of the year have you been able to maintain your goals. You didn't have focus on them. You didn't have enough focus to it. You've got to keep reminding your brain, telling yourself what you're doing. And there's a couple of things here. Number 1, write it down. The simple act of you writing down your goals, you're going to be 48% more likely to achieve them. Here's another really interesting thing is writing down your intentions. What are your intentions for the day? You're like 25% more likely to achieve them if you just write down your intentions. It's clear. It's just bringing things into greater focus for you, reconnecting with your vision. This is super important. And this is one of the things that we really work on with my clients, is just increasing the focus so you can aim it. You can get to where you want to go. Understanding what are your obstacles? Where are your distractions? Where are you getting distracted? A lot of people use their phone and they scroll on their phone, and it's a coping mechanism. Maybe something's hard, maybe something's challenging, maybe something's emotionally difficult. And the first thing that you do, is to kind of numb out, is to get on your cell phone and scroll. And then, of course, that is just distractions. So choose your 3 focus words, add them to your phone. And then what I'd like for you to do is get in the habit of writing down your intentions. You will be shocked at how simple this is, but it's going to give you clarity on the next steps. So what does that look like? What are your intentions? And if you're an entrepreneur, you might want to have one separately for your business. Maybe if your kids are still at home, you might want to have one separate for, this is what your kids, these are for the things that you've got to do for your house or your kids. Okay, so write down those intentions. And then when you get off focus, which you're going to get off focus, learning how to identify your distractions is going to be very, very helpful. But then to recalibrate. Who is the best of me? What is it that I want? What is my next best action here? What's the next right move of integrity? What is the outcome that I want today? What do I want? What do I want this month? And think in the terms of solutions only. Think in the terms of excellence. I'm going to live my life in excellence. I'm going to live my life being present, being fully here, doing the things that I know God's calling me to do. I'm going to walk worthy. That's the whole premise of walk worthy of my calling. I'm going to steward my time well. There's no condemnation for you here if you're like, oh my gosh, I am literally wasting my life away on my phone. This is just a wake-up call so you can elevate your energy, because that time, think about how depleting that is. We know that when we get off of our phones, people are more depressed. They're more unsatisfied. So we know that it's not going to get you to your goal, right? So reconnect to focus. Recalibrate to that highest version of yourself, of your goals, and of the vision of who you are becoming. Remind yourself regularly. Put it on a sticky note. Stick it places. Put it on your phone like I mentioned before. Okay, so we've talked foundations, identifying fatigue, focus, and now, and before I move on to the last one, I want to discuss energy preservation. That there will be times that things require more energy, more of your emotional energy, more of your mental faculties and energy. And learn to prioritize those. I will never forget. This was a couple of years ago. It was what do they call it? Almost like a perfect storm. I had a situation where I was invited to speak somewhere, and it was a high honor. And I was like, absolutely. Now, let me tell you, I can say this now in case anybody can come back. I don't think they'll figure out this timing. It was at one of the worst times ever. I had something massive going on that same exact weekend that required an enormous amount of emotional energy. And then I had this privilege, this honor to be asked to speak. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't going to turn it down. I knew that the Lord wanted me to do that. And when I tell you, I had to 100% protect my emotional energy, my mental energy, my physical energy, my spiritual energy. I didn't just do that the day of. I did that the week before. Constantly, just making sure I was prepared, making sure that my heart was ready for both of the events. One was speaking and I needed to show up ready, prepared, professional. And then the other one was more of an emotional thing that was going on that I needed to show up with all of my mental faculties with me. And I'll never forget that in the middle of that, there was a situation that was arising that was drama, just straight up drama. And I knew I could not give it 1 ounce of energy. I couldn't even respond. I just had to put some boundaries around my own emotions, my own energy, because these other two things were so crucial, so important, that I had to put pause, massive boundaries around that. And so that happens in our lives. And you being very clear around what are your priorities. And there are times that we have to walk through an energy preservation. And so maybe write that down, energy preservation. I know that when things are intense, that sometimes I'm an extrovert, but there are times when if there's something that's intense going on, and I mentioned in the last podcast that I've been walking through a long battle, and it gets tiring after a while. And I'm learning to preserve my energy, because there are just times I'm tired. I'm more tired than others. And I know the same is true for you. So let's get really clear around where our what we need to focus on with our energy preservation. Okay, last but not least is our faith. Elevate our energy through our faith. Here's the thing. We talked about emotional control and our controllables and our uncontrollables in our lives. There are things that we can control, and there's a lot of things that we can't. And then with our uncontrollables, this is an opportunity to build our faith. This is an opportunity to trust God. This is an opportunity to increase your belief in your Creator who loves you. He's like, trust me. And our humanness, that's hard because we can't see. Faith is things that we can't see. And where you have uncontrollables in your life, circumstances that are hard and difficult, and the only thing you can do is control you, I want to encourage you to use this as an opportunity to build your faith and to be strong and courageous. And you don't have to do this on your own. That's the beauty of being a believer, is that we have the Spirit of God inside of us. So I want to encourage you that this is an opportunity. The scripture says, count it all joy when you walk through various trials. Because in that, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but in that we build our character, it increases our faith. And you walking like that, walking worthy in the hard, trusting God, honoring Him with your life, obeying Him, is going to be a testimony one day. And in the middle of it, it's going to elevate your energy. In the middle of it, that stress that you've been carrying and that you've been feeling, and that's so heavy, it is weighing you down, girlfriend. And so from the physical standpoint of what it's doing to your health, but the spiritual aspect is more important, that we surrender. We surrender it to God. And this will grow your faith. I'm linking my arms with you on this one. And one day I've got a big old testimony to share. It's not today on this particular battle, this long-standing battle that I've been going through, but one day it is. And I'm going to claim a victory right now. And what I'm learning is that when I release this to God and rely on my faith and the power of that, I really can walk with peace. I really can walk with joy. Jesus promises that. John 15. It's all over Scripture. But Jesus promises that. And this is where my confidence is. So I don't know who needed to hear that today. But rely on your faith. Trust God. And then in the uncontrollables, allow it to build resilience in you. This is a big thing. And so with that, to build that emotional control, you're going to develop, you develop that. This is a practice. You're not going to do it once and it's done. It's a practice, just like faith. It's a faith walk. You're going to develop that emotional control. You're going to be aware. You get to decide the energy. You get to decide the emotion you put to it. And just like any skill, anything that's new, it's going to take a little time. Again, this is what we do in Walk Worthy Mentorship. And this is one of the biggest work that women need to focus on, is to build resilience, is to understand the strength that they have and to operate from strength and to build mental resilience as well. And decide how much energy you're going to attach to that. And let the important things get your energy. So raise awareness to all of these things. Raise awareness to how you're feeling energetically, and know that you can up level. Know that by practicing these 4 things, this framework, foundations, up level those, get back to the basics. Fatigue, assessing your fatigue. Focus, we talked about that today, and faith, you can really elevate your energy. Take this holistic approach, though. Take this integrative approach because it's really powerful. All right, listen, I am cheering you on. If you enjoyed this podcast today, I would like to hear back from you. What did you enjoy the most? What is your biggest takeaway? What can you take of this and put into action? And when will you put it into action? I want to get you moving. And one of the things that I do with my Walk Worthy mentorship is I get them in action through several different things. Because I know a lot of people are busy, but I have people that reach out to me and they're like, well, Amy, tell me more about this. I'm interested in that, but I don't know if I've got time for meetings. I don't know if I've got time for this. Okay, this is what it is. Every morning you get a faith activation text from me. And in this faith activation text, it's a Bible verse, along with my coaching curriculum based on getting you in action with a healthy body, a healthy soul, a healthy spirit, knowing what we know about neuroscience to move us forward every single morning. And then there are coaching calls. You can join my community, get some accountability, or you can watch things on the replay. I'm in a couple of communities and I do both. I join live when I can. I watch a lot of replays, but it keeps you growing. So if you're feeling stuck and stagnant, you got to do the work to get yourself unstuck. And then let me ask you this. If you don't do the work, where are you going to be this time next year? Think about that. If you don't do things differently and start creating some new paths for yourself, some new goals, some new actions, some new habits, you still going to be stuck this time next year. And I don't want that for you. So I would love to help you. You can check the show notes here. It's walkworthy.com/thefitsoul. Actually, I have no idea. I don't even know why I just spit out that URL. I can never say it correctly. So just go to the show notes and come join my community there. All right, friend. Well, I will see you. Don't forget, on Friday, we've got a Faith Forward Friday. Short little text. And other than that, have an incredible rest of your week. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you would sit and join me every week. All right. Bye. Girlfriend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so honored you come back every week and that you share the Fit Soul podcast with your friends and family. Every time you share my podcast on Instagram or Facebook, I do a little happy dance. Make sure you subscribe to the Fit Soul podcast where you'll never miss an episode. You can go to Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode release. And just know I truly love bringing you excellent content and great guests to provide you motivation and faith inspiration to help you walk worthy. And one of the ways you can help me is to go and leave the Fit Soul podcast a review. If you have just a moment, would you please go over and leave a review for the Fit Soul podcast? Thank you again. I love you. And here is your reminder. You are worthy. Until next time. Bye-bye.